All those on streaming, bless you in Jesus' name. I've picked a few questions, some for Rhonda to answer and some. It's impossible for us to get to all of them. Hopefully some of them were answered for you in the last two. Of course, I think that a lot of questions were generated, huh? What do you think? Rhonda, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
My goodness, it's just been fantastic. Yeah, and I think everybody being able to email and get your notes and stuff, that's going to be great. So we're going to move right into questions, and I've picked a few questions, some for Rhonda to answer and some for me to answer. So we'll do a few minutes of that, and then I'm just going to share with you, and we're going to tie this all up and do some praying and ministering to people and end our day that way, okay? So the first question, this is for Rhonda. Do I get adequate iodine in Celtic sea salt? And if not, how much iodining do I supplement with daily brands?
Celtic sea salt does have iodine in it. That's one of the benefits of getting a salt that has all the minerals in it, right? We want the minerals. However, you can start there by supplementing iodine. But given what we saw with the Fukushima disaster, we really do need some more iodine in order to really provide that important mineral in the body and also to really protect the thyroid, especially for women. The maximum you would ever want to take would be 13 milligrams per day. That's the kind of the safe, generally recognized, that's what they're calling safe is 13. However, if you have any kind of a thyroid condition, do not do that. You will make yourself very sick. So my recommendation is that you start at the microgram level, meaning start with maybe 100 micrograms. So 100 micrograms up to 1,000 micrograms. 1,000 is 1 milligram. Okay, so we're just talking less than 1 milligram, little tiny bit. Just start there and just start working up. There's an iodine that you can purchase over the counter called Lugol's iodine. It's a good iodine, but the dosage is way too high to start. So read the labels. Iodine's iodine. You don't have to worry about iodine being supplement. Best if you can get it from plants, like sea vegetables. You can also put kelp or dulse in soups, stews. When you're roasting a chicken, turkey, put it inside the cavity of the turkey or the chicken. Kelp or dulse. That's also a good way to get iodine. But don't start high because you think you need it. Start low and work your way up, but never higher than 13 milligrams a day.
Is that kelp or dulse?
I'm sorry, did I say it too fast? Kelp, or dulse. Okay. Dulse sometimes comes in a sprinkle. You can put it on like seasoning. Yeah.
And when I went into Rhonda, this was a funny story. Do you remember the iodine story?
Oh, yeah.
I went into Rhonda, and she put iodine on right there, just a little square, and we just kept going with my appointment, and it disappeared like in, I don't know.
A little less than 2 hours.
Yeah.
And it should have stayed 24.
Yeah. And so she's like, whoa, that's really bad. So she gave me a supplement to take that, and I still have that iodine liquid, and I test myself every once in a while to make sure that I have enough iodine in my system, and it's been good. So that's an easy test that you can run on yourself to just see if you're iodine
deficient.
It's
the 2% iodine. You can get it at CVS or any kind of drugstore. You just do 2% iodine. And it's a liquid. You want to just kind of paint it on the inside of the forearms, probably the easiest way to do it, just in a 2-inch square. And optimally, you want it to stay for roughly 24 hours. Definitely not a scientific test, but it'll just give you kind of a rough idea.
Okay, next question. How can I pray for people for healing when the real point is that they have to change their diet?
Good question.
Or how can I receive healing from God when I am not in total consistency in my own diet? I have to be honest with you, that is a little frustrating for me because we pray for hundreds of people, and some part of me, a whole part of me wants to say, if you would just do this, you could heal yourself. But then again, we never turn away anybody for prayer. But what I have found is the more I can just keep speaking health issues on like my Facebook and my Twitter account. And, people ask me a lot of questions. The more education that I can get out there for people, that we can get out there for people, then they'll realize, whoa, wait a minute. I'm doing stuff wrong. I'm not being responsible for myself. And that's why we're having this wellness seminar at the same time, is that both Rhonda and I feel strongly that this all works together. Our bodies work all together. There's spirit, their emotions, the soul, the physical part all need to work together. And it's really important that we just keep pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. I remember one Sunday morning, I had a gal come up and she had her shoulder was just like frozen, a mess. She was hurting really bad. And so we prayed for her and, just released healing. And then after I was done, after the service, I went up to her and I said, I just couldn't stand it. I went up to her and I said, you really need to get a hold of a really good omega-3. Just try it for a couple weeks. A couple weeks went by, she came up, she goes, my shoulder is doing awesome. Because she was just inflamed, and omega-3s, a good omega-3 oil will really help with any type of inflammation you have going on in your body. So if I get a chance to talk to somebody about it and I feel the freedom and liberty to do that, I will pray for them, but I will talk to them. I talked to a really obese lady once. She came up to me for prayer, and she was really, really open, and we just sat down and she just shared her story with me. And hers was part emotional too, just emotional. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that at the end. And just we got a chance to pray for her and that God would just really give her the grace to walk and start this new lifestyle. So you just do the best you can do. So, okay. What would you say is the most important nutritional advice for pregnancy? Now, you can share it too. But I was just talking to one of the moms here, and when you mentioned the supplements and can you take them and not be nauseated, I remember when I was having kids, the prenatal vitamins were the worst. I could not take them without throwing up and getting sick to my stomach. And now I know why. So whenever women get pregnant, they ask for advice, I'll tell them, go to the raw prenatal vitamins. It's all about whole foods. You want to get the organic whole food vitamin, in a prenatal especially.
And the prenatal vitamins, the reason that they'll push them on a pregnant woman is because of the folic acid and the iron. Now, iron, where do you get that in your diet? Anybody know? Spinach, beets. You get dark leafy greens all have lots of iron. So you want to get your nutrients from iron. So if you just get a good general whole food multivitamin, make sure that your diet is really good, you'll be fine. You don't need to do the synthetic. You wouldn't want to anyway after today. But you don't need to do the synthetic because there's not enough in there that your body can't even use it anyway. So I would agree.
Okay, I'm going to put two questions together here because it has to do with sugar addiction. What about if you are a sugar addict and want to have dessert every day? How do you break free? And I am a sugar addict. I'm addicted to sugar, drink from Starbucks and sodas on a daily basis. How can I get off the sugar? Is it best to do it cold turkey? What can I replace it with to help me while I'm getting off of it?
Wow. What are we going to do with that? Sugar is addicting. Cheese, sugar are probably the two most addictive substances, and wheat. You try and take cheese away from somebody who likes cheese, they'll come at your throat. If I said to you, get off your cheese, what would you say? Say, I don't think so. So cheese, sugar, and gluten are probably the three most addictive substances. So it's very difficult. The thing I can tell you is this. I mentioned this herb last year. There's an herb called gymnema. Like go to the gym, G-Y-M, and then N-E-M-A, gymnema. What that does is it prolongs the life of insulin. So when insulin is grabbing the sugar, because remember the sugar cravings, the Starbucks cravings, all that come from this yo-yo of blood sugar. What the gymnema does is it helps this insulin that flies in to rescue the glucose. It makes it work better. So more of that blood sugar gets used for energy, which means you're not as tired and you're not going to want as much sugar. So it'll actually take the sugar craving away if you get a good potent gymnema. The other thing I could tell you to do is substitute with sweets that are sweetened with things like dehydrated cane juice. Do you want to talk about that? Okay. Evaporated cane juice. So there's like a little thing, there's some called sun drops. Have you ever seen those? They come in a package like M&Ms. They look like M&Ms. Now, it's still got some sugar in it, but at least it's a transitionary point. You go from eating a bunch of sugar, soda, all that addictive food, then when you want something sweet, eat those sun drops.
Oh, they're good.
And they're really good. But eat the sun drops. And then after a while, you'll find that you don't want them as much anymore. And then you'll start having less of them and less of them. But as you're getting off the sugar, what do you need to increase? Protein, fat, carbs. Yeah.
I noticed what really helped curb my sugar was juicing. And I enjoy juicing. And juicing dark greens, carrots, all of that. But mostly, I love the green lemonade and the kale and the romaine. And I found out that when I juice, my craving for something sweet is less. So, and eating more vegetables. Eating more vegetables would do the same thing. But I was a major sugar addict and could clean a pound of See's chocolate off in an afternoon. And really bad. And it took me probably 2 months to break the habit with, I actually would walk into my kitchen in the morning and say, God, help me today. What can I do today? And help me break this. And with prayer and just a real change in the way I ate really changed that. But green vegetables really helped a lot. So, okay, if juicing is so good, what about all the lost fibers so it's not digested as well? Yeah, when you juice, you lose the fiber in the vegetable, or say an apple. An apple has lots of fiber in it, so you can just eat an apple. But if you're juicing, you're going to lose the fiber. So a lot of people like to blend, if they like to blend. What I like about juicing is I can put beets, spinach, kale, carrots, ginger, lemon, and an apple sometimes, and put it all in there, and I get all this in one glass. And I love that because I'm on the go a lot, and it's quick for me. And but I do lose the fiber, so I have to replace it because I don't eat bread. I have to replace it with fiber. So I've been on this search of just adding more fiber into my diet. And I have found something recently that I really like, and that's the chia seed. You know the little chia plants that we grew about a while back? Yeah, those. And chia seeds are fun, so I'll throw them in a smoothie. I'll put them on top of my salad. Just wherever I can put them, I'll put a chia seed because they're full of that fiber that I need. So, but if you want to, I have a friend that she would much rather blend her vegetables and stuff together in her Vitamix. I don't care for the texture, so I prefer juicing. So you just have to, if you're going to juice, you have to find a better replacement for your fiber.
Right.
All right. What causes deficiency in vitamin D, and how can you solve it? I am taking 5,000 unit dose due to chronic deficiency.
Vitamin D is chronically low. We find that the lowest vitamin D levels are in the South. The lowest vitamin D levels are found in the South. Texas, Florida, Southern California. Why would that be if they get more sun than we do? Because vitamin D is a hormone. Its active form is a hormone, and it's converted in the skin. However, you have to have enough cholesterol in your body to convert vitamin D. And how many people are on statin medication lowering cholesterol? If you don't have enough cholesterol, you can whip your body with a vitamin D supplement, and you're not going to get anywhere. You have to have enough cholesterol. number one. Number two, it's converted to its active form in the digestive tract. So if you have any kind of, I was talking with somebody about yeast or fungal overgrowth like candida, if that's going on, you're not going to be able to convert that vitamin D, so people just chronically stay low in their vitamin D. I don't know that I agree with this 50,000 unit a week thing, because in nature, would we ever find a plant that has 50,000 units of vitamin D that we were supposed to eat once a week? Vitamin D is found in what kinds of foods? Dark leafy greens, fish, and so on. So we want to eat lots of leafy greens and fish. But if you are going to supplement with a vitamin D, I don't think you need 50,000 units. I think you can go 2,000 to 4,000 units a day. But I think you need to make sure that it's from a good source, a good, read the label. Look, when you get the PDF from me, look at vitamin D, read the label. Don't get it as a synthetic. Make sure you get it as a good source. But 2,000 to 4,000 a day should be fine.
Okay, Rhonda, I want you to talk to us about soy milk. So many people drink soy milk it's at all the coffee shops. Tell us about soy.
Soy is fine if it's fermented. So the fermented soy is miso, natto, tempeh, T-E-M-P-E-H, tempeh, and a shoyu, or like nama shoyu. How many of you use that? That's like a raw alternative soy sauce. That's completely fine. But tofu is not fermented. Soy milk is not fermented. Soybeans are not fermented. Remember, what were they used for? For crops, right? To replenish the nitrogen in the soil. So soy, when you take it in the body, it really wreaks havoc on your nutritional reserves. Talk about the synthetic vitamins creating a problem. Soy can be even worse. It blocks minerals from being absorbed out of food, number one, like soy milk. It also is it's called a junk estrogen, and it acts like an estrogen in the body. So for women who already have hormonal problems, then they have soy, you're only adding twigs to the fire. You're just making it burn a little hotter. So you want to avoid soy, and all soy is genetically modified. So you see there's multiple problems with soy. So just stay off the soy. Just run from soy. Don't put it in milk. I'd rather have corn milk than soy. Really. Because the corn milk, at least I know what I'm dealing with. With the soy, there are so many other secondary issues in the body. If I had to choose between corn milk and soy, I would choose corn milk in a minute. So fermented soy is totally fine. The more the better. Great for your gut. Very great. Miso soup, I order it every time I can. Or make it. But no, not if it's unfermented. But yes, soy milk's bad. Don't avoid it if you can.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about alternative sweeteners, as in like Splenda, Sweet and Low. I know you have lots to say about it, but I want to share an experience before I got off of all that kind of stuff. The last one I got off was Splenda. And I went in for a massage one day, and I was just achy. My joints were achy, and I'd wake up in the morning just feeling achy, and I went in for a massage, and I told my massage therapist, and she goes, "So, do you use Splenda?" And I went, "Yeah, I do." She goes, "Get off of it right now." Because Splenda, they don't know what to do with it. Your body doesn't know what to do with it, and it lodges in your joints. And because it's not a food, and so it's just not good for you. And everybody thinks that it might be, but it's not. Anything artificial is not good. Period.
That's the point. It's artificial.
Yeah, it's not real food, and it's not good. So just don't go there.
So the synthetic sweeteners are a really big problem, but they make them because we tell people don't eat sugar, that's bad for you, but look, the golden platter comes out with Splenda, or aspartame, or whatever. Saccharin was the first one on the scene. There are, if you go and look up the side effects of some of these sweeteners, there's a couple of them, and I can't remember now which two there are. The side effects, one of the side effects listed on both of these two, one of the side effects is death. I mean, it's listed. So you don't want to mess around with these. They're not, it's not, this isn't playtime. If I had to choose between Splenda and sugar, I would take sugar, hands down. No question. I have a bunch of it if you asked me if I had to have Splenda. So sweeteners, honey's always a good choice. Very biblical. But please don't have sous vide honey. I mean, really, it's not even real honey. So find in September here locally we have the Honeybee Festival out in Palisadro, but there's lots of honeybee farms around here. If you do a Google, you can find somebody you can buy raw honey from. And when I get raw honey, I like it with the pieces and parts in it. I like to see the twigs and stuff in there. I'm like, yeah, this is the real deal. And then I just filter it. Because is it going to hurt the honey? Honey is almost a perfect food. It has all amino acids in it. It's like, it is amazing food. It's already pre-digested by the bees. So when you take it, that's why it affects your blood sugar so quickly. So people say, oh, I don't want to do honey, but honey's always my first choice, always. But you can do agave. It's still pretty processed. And
I always make sure when I get agave, it's organic, raw agave.
Yes. Yeah. So there's agave. You can do maple syrup. If you do maple syrup, you want to do grade B, as in boy. Less processed. You know, they think better health through science. The more processed it is, the better it is for you. No. So we want grade B. I don't know. I don't sweeten much. If you have to use a sugar like you're baking or you're doing something like that, you can use evaporated cane juice. And it's sold under a couple different brand names at the store. But you can get evaporated cane juice, and it's pretty, if you have to use it in a baked good, it's fine. You can still use it.
Now, I use maple sugar.
Yep.
When I bake. Like, Bill and I both love no-bakes. And so I get a gluten-free, quick oats and use organic peanut butter. We love peanut butter. And raw, organic maple sugar. And it works really well, and I use almond milk instead of, so, there's lots of, what do you think about stevia? I use stevia in my tea to sweeten my tea.
Well, I only have one question to pose about stevia. Stevia is a plant. It has green leaves. I just want to know, how did the green leaves turn into a white powder? I'm just asking.
Do you have the answer?
Or a clear liquid, unless it's been really processed. I love you. So, I don't use stevia because for me, I think that stevia is kind of more the, what shall we say, like the health food Splenda.
Yes.
Not chemical, but like really processed like that. So I always just say, just do honey.
Okay.
Just do honey.
Wow.
Sorry.
Glad I asked that question.
But if you've ever have the opportunity to get the leaves, I went to a first grade class once and I taught there, and I had them all sign a little disclaimer. They had to bring it back that I was going to have them eat leaves of a plant. It was fine. And I don't want the parents freaking out. The kid comes home and goes, the teacher made me eat leaves today. Oh, gosh. But the leaves, when you chew them, they are sweet. I mean, you want to just keep eating them off of the leaves. So if you ever can find a stevia plant, plant it, because it will keep growing. It'll keep growing, and you'll have it year after year.
So could you kind of put the stevia leaf in your tea?
You could, but it's got a little bit of bitter to it unless you crush it.
Okay.
You'd put like a mortar and pestle. You have the little thing. You just crush that leaf, and you get the liquid out. Or you can even take it in your hand and just do it like this. But you could put it in tea. It's going to have that little bit of an aftertaste, but it does as the powder too.
Yeah. Well, actually, the brand I get doesn't. But yeah.
So it's just more processed.
You got me.
Oh, dear.
Lord.
She'd be getting honey. She'd be buying honey tomorrow.
I love honey.
I do too.
I can do honey. So, okay. Hey, talk to us about caffeine.
Oh. That wasn't nice. That's payback right there.
Because I don't do caffeine.
See, I got her with the stevia. Now she's throwing it back at me. I tell you, I really like coffee. I mean, I do. And I say, for people who drink coffee, coffee is a blankie. And I don't like to take blankies away from people. I don't think that's nice. That's not like playing nice on the playground. However, caffeine does to your blood sugar just the same thing that sugar does.
Oh.
It makes your blood sugar, what do we drink in the stimulation for? Because what's happening with either blood sugar or energy, what are we drinking it for? So either your blood sugar's low and you just need to eat something, or we have low energy and we use the caffeine as the blankie, right, to get you up and moving in the morning. Sometimes, for me, really the coffee or caffeine, I love going to Starbucks with my sweetheart and having a cup of coffee. That's just our thing that we do once in a while. And I just really like that. I had one this morning on my way here. In fact, the cup's probably still back there with about that much still in it. But, there's no judgment around caffeine. But every one of us knows that we would be better off without it. And I can promise you this, when you're off it, you will feel so much better. It's just the getting off that's brutal. And that tells you anything that is that addictive, that you would get a headache for 4 days that makes you think that someone's literally banging your head with a sledgehammer, and nothing fixes the headache except a sip of coffee. That should give you some indication of the fact that that's probably not the best substance you could be putting in your body. So you just kind of have to decide when you're going to wean yourself from the blankie and walk away from it. But it does the same thing as sugar does. I'm sorry.
How about decaf, you said?
Decaf is still very, very, very processed. So here's my next question. You ready? Don't you hate them? I'm just asking. So coffee goes in black and it comes out yellow. Where'd the black go? It's in your liver. And it just all gets gummy in the liver. Caffeine's really hard. Coffee, decaf and caf, very hard on your liver and your kidneys. But the black stays in there somewhere, right? You don't have black urine after you drink coffee. So decaf is still just as processed. It just doesn't have the caffeine in it, which actually makes it more processed, right? Because they've had to go through an extra step to remove the caffeine. But it might be a good intermediary to get you off of your blankie, right? From caf to decaf, and then you can get rid of it. The caffeine will be in other sources. So you'll have caffeine in green tea. You can have yerba mate has a little bit of caffeine in it. There's some other things that you can do that have caffeine. Caffeine is naturally occurring. If it's green tea's pretty close to good. You can just go buy green tea leaves, put them in a tea ball, put them in a teacup. That's not processed. That's just the herb that's been dried, and you're using it to flavor the water. It's extracting, the water's extracting the medicinal property. That's okay. The more processed that it is, and coffee is very, very processed. I read a statistic once that in most available coffee that there's over 400 chemicals in a bag of coffee that are either used on the soil, on the leaves, in storage, during the roasting, at every phase from growing it, planting the seed, to you having it in a cup. Over 400. That's kind of significant.
So when they say organic coffee bean, what is that all about?
You know what cracks me up? There's a donut store downtown. And in the donut store window, it says organic coffee. And I'm thinking, I don't get how donuts and organic coffee go together. That doesn't make any sense to me. But organic coffee is just not going to have as many chemicals. But is it still coffee? Yeah, it just is going to have less chemicals in it.
So what about all the different milks? Almond, coconut, rice, flax, there's hemp, there's oats. Are those better than goat milk or, say, a raw grass-fed cow milk?
What would you say would be the best choice of all those? Raw grass-fed milk. Cannot beat that, but that is tough to find. So any raw milk is going to be better than a processed milk. You know, like open it up and get the gallon of milk out. Even if it's corn milk, we don't like that. But you guys are all going to drink milk in the next week, so that's, can't change that. As far as if you go off of the milk, the other milk substitutes like rice milk and almond milk, you've got the hemp milk, flaxseed milk, right? Coconut milk. Those are all fine. Just read the label. Just make sure that there's not a lot of added sugars, that there's not a lot of added methyl caramel celia hexalexa sata in there. Don't have all those extra ingredients in there. You can make almond milk at home very easily. You put 1 cup of almonds, 4 cups of water, and then put a little bit of like vanilla extract, not the alcohol kind, but the kind that's glycerin, or just put some vanilla bean. I always have a vanilla bean. Just scrape out a little bit of the inside of the vanilla bean, put it in there, turn the blender on, put a little sea salt in there, you're good. Blend it up, and you can drink it just like that, or you can strain it so you get the solid out, and then it's more like the texture of milk. But almond milk fresh, oh my gosh, is it good for you. Wonderful. It only lasts about 3 days, so you have to make it pretty often, pretty frequently, but you don't have to soak the almonds if you don't have time. Just throw them in the blender, blend them up with water, and you're golden. I mean, it's a 3-minute job.
Yeah, and I have a certain juicer that actually, I got it so I could do the nut milks. And it does it just like nothing flat. And you're right. The
It's
almond milk
so
fresh
good.
is yummy.
Really good.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. How are we doing for time? What about protein powders and stuff? Are those okay if they're organic? Or I can't do protein powders. They just wreck my stomach. So is it?
It might be what it's made of.
Yeah.
Because remember we talked this morning about there's corn, like you're going to have corn whey, and you're going to have grass-fed whey. So whey protein comes from cows, but you can have soy protein powder. Is that going to be an option? No. You can have green pea. They have one that's a green pea powder. There's a flax powder. There's a hemp powder. I think if you had to do a protein powder, always my preference would be animal-based, the whey. But I really would like to have a grass-fed. So that's why I said go to Mercola's site. There's a couple of other websites that I've seen that have them, but I've never tried them, so I can't speak to that. But I have tried the Mercola one, and it's good. You're also going to be pretty good with goat whey. There's a company called Mount Capra, C-A-P-R-A, MT.CAPRA, Mount Capra, and they make a very good goat milk whey. And the goats are not, last I called, which was probably a year ago, the goats were not fed corn. They were just naturally grazed, and then they took the milk and made the whey. So that's an option for you. But protein powders, just stay away. The ones you're going to want to kind of stay away from would be the soy protein. And if anything, if it's got added stuff in it, you want to get one that just says whey protein, not whey protein and all those other words. And sometimes they add sugar in, because let me tell you, whey protein is not what you wake up and crave. It doesn't taste real great. So they a lot of times will put sugar and flavor and color and make it strawberry flavored and all that. You want to avoid that.
So I think some of us are going to run out of here and start just eating a whole lot of meat protein. Can we get too much?
Mm-hmm. If you're not used to eating meat, let's say you only eat meat twice a week, and then you go and you start eating meat 3 times a day, your little belly's not going to be real happy with you. Hydrochloric acid has to be trained to be released, and if you've not been exercising the muscle that secretes that hydrochloric acid, then you got to work with your muscle a little bit. In other words, if you eat protein twice a week, then go to eating it 3 to 4 times a week to start. And then the next week, maybe add another serving, and then add another serving. And you won't get the bloat. You won't get that uncomfortable feeling that protein's just sitting in there not breaking down. So yeah, you want to, if you go do it real fast, you'll get through it. It's just going to be a little uncomfortable. But otherwise, just add a little bit at a time. But 1 serving of protein is the thickness and size of your palm, roughly. It's about 7-8 grams of protein. So I try and get, if I'm going to get protein, good protein in a dinner, I try and do twice my palm thickness of chicken or fish, beef, whatever it is that I'm eating. That's what I like to do. So I'm not afraid of eating a big piece of protein, but I used to not be able to eat it at all. And for people who have lost their taste for meat, have you ever had that happen? Where it just, you go, this is kind of repulsive to me, like, ugh. I don't know if it's because of some other reason, but I don't like it. It's because you don't have enough hydrochloric acid. And your brain's telling you, don't eat that, because if you put that in there, that's not going to work. So that's a very strong indicator that you need some digestive support.
Let's finish this by talking a little bit about water and the importance of water. So
You go ahead.
Okay. I was teaching in a class one day, and the question was asked, what about water? And so I really believe in water. And we are made up of a whole lot of percentage of water. And we need to drink water. Now, if you're juicing and eating a lot of vegetables that are high in water content, then that's really good. But I remember whenever this question is asked, it's funny to watch the audience, because if they have water bottles, they'll just automatically, see, there we go, right there, Ryan, you got it. Pick up their water and drink it. And I was teaching this class, that question was asked, and a week after that, the instructor that brought the students to me for teaching, she said, and the students are drinking water by the gallon right now because you said to drink water. You can overdrink your water, and especially during meal times. I have heard, you may know more, but I have heard that you're only to drink 8 ounces of liquid with your meal.
Or less.
Because it'll mess up your digestive fluids inside. And in our American society, it's like, how much water can they bring you in the restaurant, It's tons. And sodas, oh my goodness, yeah. And also, if you like carbonated water, it's good to stay away from carbonated water while you're eating. I love carbonated water, but I've had to cut it down a little bit and try not to drink it when I'm eating, which is really hard. But you need to be drinking water. Just drink water. And even if you have to only get tap water, drink water. One of the first things I do in the morning is get up and I get my glass of water, which is alkalized water, and I will put a lemon in it, lemon juice. And it's amazing what it does to you. Helps you go to the bathroom. I mean, it's just you feel good. It's like a lift. So water is really, really important.
Your body's made of 70% water. What's the second thing of highest percentage in the body? Protein. They're so smart.
Yeah, you got well.
So, high water. If your body's made of water, then you have to replace that water, because you have some that is lost with urine. You have some that's lost from the skin. You have moisture that's lost when you speak and when you breathe. So there you have a base amount of water that you've got to get in every day. The typical rule of thumb is about half your body weight in ounces per day. So if you weigh 100 pounds, you would need 50 ounces of water. Not to exceed 100 ounces. So if we had a man weighed 300 pounds, we wouldn't use that, ratio. We would say we would want to max him at 100, because you can't overwhelm the kidneys. But you're right, during digestion, water is meant to wet the palate and keep the moisture in the mouth. Saliva is meant to mix in with the food. But as you're eating, you're depleting the saliva, right? It's absorbing in the food, mixing with the food, and then you swallow the bolus of food, down it goes. So now we might have a little bit of a dry mouth because I've used up my saliva. So I made a little water to just kind of wet my whistle so I can keep eating. That's what water's used for during a meal, not to do where you're swallowing water. It always makes me crazy when I go to a restaurant and I see people around, you just watch, and they just keep filling their water and they're drinking it and drinking it and drinking. I'm thinking,
And they wonder why they don't
they can't, they have digestive problems because they're diluting all that good strong hydrochloric acid that's supposed to be breaking that food down. And it's not breaking down, it's just all watery and pathetic. And the water fills you up then. So the food doesn't digest correctly and so on. Water is so important, so important.
Good. Okay.
Alrighty.
Well, good. Thank you. Let's give Rhonda a hand again.
Thank
Just
you.
amazing. Thanks, girl. Okay. Wow. Do you feel like you just have all this information? You're like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Baby steps, okay? And I love what Rhonda said today about just giving yourself a break. You know, you just, if you go out and have a macchiato, tomorrow's another day. Don't get so, you can get religious about this, and it's sickening to be around somebody like that, to be honest with you. So just give yourself grace, you know, and enjoy life, enjoy food. Oh, celebrate food. It's wonderful. It is. When it's good and healthy. I remember going to the market, you know, the organic markets that we have around here. It feels like Christmas to me. I'm like, what's going to be there today? No. I just wanted to end today by sharing a little bit about what's gone on with me in the last couple of years. And Rhonda talked about adrenal fatigue. And for probably about 6, 7 years, maybe 8 years now, I've been on this quest to be healthy. And all of my adult life, on and off, I had been on and off eating good and then eating bad and doing the whole thing. And about 7 years ago, I went in for a checkup, and my blood pressure was high. And I was, you know, eating pretty good and doing stuff, but I was, my lifestyle habit was bad. We wouldn't get home till midnight, and we'd go out to eat at a restaurant, and, you know, I'd put on 20 plus pounds, and she said, you know, you're going to have to do something about that blood pressure. And I said, yeah. I said, I'm not going to take medication, so I'm going to go on a search to figure out what's going on. So I did. I found out, and I started doing what I needed to do, and I shed the pounds, and I got the exercises, and I changed my lifestyle. I studied the blood type diet and found out that I'm an O type, and you know, I was doing that and feeling good, and then I discovered raw food and started eating pretty much all raw, and with our travel schedule, my husband and I traveled quite a bit. Last year, the year before last, from January to May, I took 5 international trips. And that's a lot in travel terms. And the last trip coming home from Norway, I said to my assistant, I cannot do this. And I had no clue that getting on an airplane and traveling like that could exhaust your body as much as it did. And what I started finding in this process is that although I was eating really good food and taking really good care of myself, I was exhausted. And I would get home from a trip and I would get sick immediately. And I thought, what is wrong with me? I'm doing everything that I know to do. What has happened? And so after 2 years of going through this, I finally decided to go to a specialist, a naturopath specialist, and he took a urine and saliva test on me. And he said, your body is stressed. And I went, wait a minute, I'm not a stressed person. I'm a peaceful person. He goes, that's not the kind of stress I'm talking about. It's because of what your schedule, your lifestyle is. You have stressed your body out, and it can't work for you anymore. He said, if you were a cell phone and I plugged you into a wall, you wouldn't be charged in a month. And I looked at him, I said, okay, so what do I do? So he put me on some really good stuff, and I started this quest to get rid of this, and I did a lot of my own research as well. I asked Rhonda questions, and you know, what do I do? And come to find out that the adrenal fatigue thing, from what I found out, takes anywhere from 6 months to a year to recover from. And I found some really interesting things. One of the things is that the way to heal your adrenals or to keep your adrenals function is what Rhonda talked about, meat protein. And I had pretty much taken it out of my diet. And because I'm a type O, we need meat protein. And so when I found that out, I started adding that to my diet, good meat protein. And I found out that one of the things to do for adrenal fatigue is to laugh. So I started finding funny movies to watch. The satellite radio has a laugh station. We listen to the laugh station. I love news. I cut down my news, watching my news, because there's usually never any good news on the news. And I just started finding things that would make me laugh, because laughing is healing for your body. It actually does physically something for your body. And to rest, just flat out rest. So I would leave services early so I could get home and get to bed by 10 and just sleep and rest. I would make myself, when we weren't traveling, I'd make myself stay home and do nothing. And that is really hard. Because I was so exhausted, I would come home at noon and I would put on my PJs, and that was the end of the day for me. If I didn't have a meeting that night, that was it. I was spent, and I would just veg. I mean, I couldn't read. I was depressed. I didn't know I was depressed until I started healing and realized one day, wow, I'm feeling better. Oh my gosh, I was depressed. And it just, I knew something was wrong, and so I started this process of getting well. And probably about maybe 4 months ago, maybe not quite that long ago, Carol Arnott came to church, and she spoke about this cool little thing. I thought it was kind of cheesy at first, but she said, I have this invisible clock that I wear, and it goes off every 10 minutes, and I just worship God for 20 seconds as it buzzes and vibrates. And I have it today. I'm wearing it today. And so every 10 minutes it goes off. And I just worship God, either outwardly or just in my heart, just adore Him. And so all of these things together, I'll tell you what, when I started doing that, that's when I really saw the swing. I've been doing all the physical things, taking all the good supplements and eating the right food and getting the rest. But when I clipped this little thing on me and I began to add that spiritual part of it to my life, is when I really began to see the change. And it was almost like overnight. I'd worn this for about 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and I woke up one morning and went, I feel really good. And one of the things that had happened to me is because I just kept getting sick, I would get well and get sick and get well and get sick, and it was all sinus problems, and it was just a mess. This ear plugged up for 2 years. And I really thought that I had a hearing loss. I was about ready to go into the doctor. And one morning I woke up and I went, it's gone. It's totally gone. And it completely opened up. I didn't feel like I was talking in a cave anymore. And from then I knew I'm on the right track. And so I called Rhonda, and she sent off a saliva test for me, she gave me the stuff, and I sent it off, and she got the results back, and she called me, she goes, you can no longer say that you have adrenal fatigue, it's gone. And so I wanted to share that with you today, because our body is body, soul, and spirit. And we've talked a lot about the physical part of what we can do in our lifestyle, but sometimes there's a part of us that's our emotion and our spirit man that is hurting and needs to be healed. And that attributes to stress, anxiety, and overweight. because what she was talking about, the cortisol thing, that's like major intriguing, and it has to do with all that. And so I want to encourage you that maybe some of you in some of your situations, it's not just a physical thing that's going on with you, but it's a spiritual thing that's going on with you as well, that you need to get some type of counsel or help to help you through those spirit issues while you're changing the physical dynamics of your lifestyle. And when you do that, see, my buzzer just went off. Thank you, Jesus. And while you're doing that, while you're incorporating body, soul, and spirit, your whole body begins to just come together and heal itself. Does that make sense? And I think in that process, the way we eat, the way we listen, the way we talk about ourselves, that's a huge deal. I talk about toxic thoughts and taking our toxic thoughts captive. We can say all the right things on the outside, but we can be totally annihilating ourselves on the inside in our mind by toxic thoughts, by the way we think about ourselves. Like saying, that was such a dumb thing to do. When people say that out loud, I always correct them. I said, you're not dumb. You're amazing. It's capturing those toxic thoughts that they do affect you. They will affect you physically and emotionally. So I've asked the Lord, just help me with my thought process. Because we all do it. All of us do it. The things that we think and stuff. And I've just asked him to help me to arrest that when I'm thinking things that I should not be thinking, that are not godly things, that are not prosperous to my soul, that God would arrest that in me. And one of the things I like to tell people is when you get up in the morning and you stand in front of the sink and you're brushing your teeth and putting on your makeup, look in the mirror and say, I am great. I am awesome. God created me to be great. I am beautiful. And you need to bless your body. You need to bless your body. Don't curse it. Don't say things bad about your body like, I don't like the way my legs are too short. Say, I am made the way God made me. Fall in love with yourself. That sounds kind of funny, but that is really true. And all that works together to bring wholeness and to bring healing in your body. I love to soak in God's presence. And when I'm soaking in God's presence, I know that the Holy Spirit is filling me up again. And I know that it's not just affecting my spirit man. I know that it is affecting my emotions, the way I think, and my physical body as well. So when I get up from my soaking or being with the Lord, I feel like I can conquer the world. And all those things work together as one. Okay? All right. I want to read you a scripture out of the Amplified Bible, and then we're going to pray for some people, okay? 3 John 2 says, Beloved, I pray that you may prosper in every way and that your body may keep well, even as I know your souls keep well and prospers. And here's another translation. Beloved, I pray that you may prosper in all things and be in health, just as your soul prospers. It all works together. So today we're going to end by just praying. I do want to just out loud thank all of you for coming. I want to thank all of Deborah's crew. Deborah, you were amazing. Where are you? Raise your hand, Deborah. She's our conference coordinator and her team. And Rhonda's team, you gals in the back, you're amazing. We just want to thank you. Everybody that helped made it another great day. Would you stand with me? I really like to pray over people. And I'm going to do a corporate prayer, and then we're going to pray. I'm going to have a team come up, and we're going to pray individually for people. But I really believe that there is a Holy Spirit grace on this. It is important to me to be able to release that grace to people to walk this out. Because sometimes it's very overwhelming. And like I said earlier, take baby steps. In fact, some of you will need to just say, God, what do I do first? And he will show you what to do first. It was like when Ronda was talking about, God, what am I missing? And he kept saying protein, protein, protein. It's like that. Go to him and ask him, while you're in this lifestyle change, or if you're in this lifestyle change, wherever you're coming from, partner with God in it. He is very concerned for your health and your wholeness in your body, soul, and spirit. So let's pray. Just put your hand on your heart, and I'm just going to release a grace over you to be able to walk out what you need to walk out. Holy Spirit, thank you. Thank you for your releasing power in Jesus' name. Thank you for the hunger in people's hearts to get well and to be whole. And I just release that grace over you right now to walk in wholeness in every area of your life.